Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to my live streaming podcast right now. It's 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in beautiful downtown Burbank, and I welcome you to my show. I am your host, as was mentioned. I'm Debbie Carlin Boyle. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health and nutrition coach. And I am here. I help people find balance in their life. There's so many things that need to come together to get into alignment, all those things. Besides our diet, besides our sleep, besides our exercise, there's lots of fundamentals that help us age young. And I try to find the experts on all those things and bring them in, and we can have a conversation on what we can do to be changing to bring our life more into alignment and create longevity with quality. That's important to me, and it's important to me that I get the information out to my audience, to you, and that's kind of why I do this podcast. I have a great conversation today. I have an expert, something that we think, we kind of put, I think many people, especially when I talk to my clients, put this subject aside and don't realize how integral and pivotal it is to our overall health. So we're going to dig into this conversation today, and in a second, I'm going to give you our intros and talk to you about exactly what we're talking about. But I also mentioned at the top a few things that I do. I also want to tell you that we want you to become part of this conversation. So in order to do that, you can call in if you're listening live. So if you're not driving, take this number down. The number here is area code 323-524-2599. Once again, that number is 323-524-2599. Now, if you're watching us, you'll see it's on the screen. But if you're not, I say the number a couple of times during the show, so call in. If you missed the number and you're watching us later, you can make a comment or ask a question on any of the platforms that I stream on. I get notifications when that happens, and myself or my guest will get back to you with an answer, and we'll keep the conversation going. That's the idea here, is to get you become part of the conversation too. So, a little bit about me. I am that health nutrition coach and personal trainer. And again, I help people find balance in everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. So to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, which is balancedlifebydebbie.com. And Debbie is DEBI.com. There, it's going to say consultation with me. And you can just click on that. It's going to ask you a few questions. And then I offer a free consultation where you can talk about, I'm going to listen to what you're going through and what it is that is out of balance in your life and how I can help you put it back into alignment. And I also work from Zoom. I work with people all over the world, all over the country. I also work in person, and on my website, you can take a class with me, either live streaming, or you can go to one of the places that I teach here in Southern California and join me live. So if you go to my website, again, balancedlifebydebbie, DEBI.com, there's all ways to connect with me. And I'd love to talk to you about your personal health journey and how I can help you make it better to, again, create that longevity with quality. All right, we have a lot to get to today, so I'm going to get on with the introductions because I think this is a conversation that applies to all of us. So, did you know how much of longevity is controlled by your digestive health? Do you know that your gut is your second brain? And do you know that mental health and gut health are intimately related, and they affect every aspect of our daily lives? Well, my guest today, Natasha Trenev, is an expert who can explain all of the above. Natasha is considered the mother of probiotics. Her extensive experience and knowledge of the industry began with her family's 750-year history of producing the most beneficial yogurt prized by the royal family of Yugoslavia. Natasha is the founder and the president of Natrine Inc. Natrine's probiotics products come with 40 years of focused, rigorous scientific research and technology from leading scientists and researchers in the field of probiotics. For 40 plus years, Natasha has stated the proper precision probiotic selected beneficial bacteria supplementation, which will have profound effects on every aspect of human health. That includes physical, mental, emotional, skin, and organ health. It will be regarded as the foundation of health. So let's get to it. Will you please welcome my guest, Natasha Trenev, to my show. Hi, Natasha.
Hello, thank you. Just wanted to say the last name is Trenev.
Trenev. All right, I pronounced it wrong.
Okay.
I should have asked you, Trenev. Nice to meet you, and thank you for being my guest. I'm sorry I discombobulated your name. I do that to everybody, so it's a rite of passage here. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know, it's important that we get it right in the end, and that's all that matters.
Trenev. I got it. Okay, so I am so happy to have you. I am so impressed with your family history and your passion for understanding and helping us understand the importance of gut health and probiotics. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is kind of what I alluded to in the introduction, but gut health is related to our overall health, period. And how that gut-brain connection works and how important it is to keep a healthy gut. But without the proper, should we say, good bacteria in our gut, we're, kind of not in a losing battle, but we're definitely not maximizing what we can do to be the healthiest we can be. So before we get into all of that, I want to get to your origin story and hear a little bit about you, where you're from, your family background, which I had mentioned in the beginning, and what got you to where you are today. So you are
Well, it's
on.
a long story. I could probably write 3 volumes, and they would be on the New York bestseller list. And I'm going to do that whenever I semi-retire. But I come from a family of Macedonian specialists in cultured foods. My grandfather was the largest exporter from Macedonia, northern Macedonia now, of cultured yogurt, real cultured yogurt, and feta cheese. And my father carried on the tradition by becoming the official court supplier to the former king of Yugoslavia. And many royal families in Europe enjoyed his special yogurt and his special cheese. So I came to this country when I was 8 years old. And my father started his business in Glendale, California in the early to mid 1960s. And we were the first one to introduce a real liquid acidophilus. And we had to really teach about acidophilus. There was some knowledge about acidophilus, but the products that represented acidophilus were almost non-existent and very poorly made. And we also introduced the natural style Bulgarian yogurt under the label of Continental Royal Yogurt. We also gave a franchise to Altadena to introduce the first kefir. I set the standard for liquid yogurt in the state of California in 1969, and I was invited by the state of New York to help set a real kefir standard in the late 1970s, because unfortunately, no agency, either state or federal, controls what organisms you use as starter cultures. And in the old days, when people really followed a standard, you couldn't just throw a bunch of bacteria in there and call it a probiotic because one, they don't survive and they just interfere with the goodness of what that product is supposed to do. So people say, why are you working still after all these years? And I said, because my family introduced real fermented, what I call probiotic foods. And I brought it to a higher level when in 1982, I introduced the whole category of probiotics to North America and the world when nobody knew what the heck probiotics were, what they meant. The only thing people understood was acidophilus. And if it wasn't acidophilus, they weren't interested in talking about it. But I introduced the first bifidobacteria supplement for the large intestine and the first bifidobacteria for pregnant women, nursing mothers, newborn infants, which is now touted and everybody talks about it. It's called Bifidobacteria infantis. And all the bacteria that I brought to the market evolved with Homo sapiens and are part of our core bacteria, and they all work together. And the biggest tragedy is that people are just throwing in bacteria into a product, whether or not they can cooperate or not, whether or not they're antagonistic. And right now, I feel we're in the greatest crisis we have ever been because virtually $4.3 trillion are spent on healthcare. 80% of that is spent on chronic disease. We have an explosion of colon cancer among the young, as well as the old and the elderly, which is the numbers are going up. The last number I saw for autoimmune disease stated that 50 million Americans suffer from autoimmune disease, and I could go on and on. So 70 years of natural food concepts, exercise, and whatever you want to call, has not really made our population healthier. And that's because of the confusion and the quick fix formulas that are out there and things that are brought into the culture that have not existed previously in any healthy culture and are just adopted in a fashion in our culture without any testing to see if it's really going to make the population healthiher.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about, you alluded to this, but our food sources have changed drastically over the years, and you've seen it in your time. I've seen it in my time. I'm not that much younger than you, and the food has to come from its natural source, and foods are so tainted now with they're polluting our bodies, polluting our guts. The same thing with our soil. So, even before the food gets added, we have to keep eating real food. And people aren't doing that because we're being sold all of this terrible stuff, all this food that is not real food. It's chemically based, and that's where the commercials lie. That's where the advertising dollars lie. That's what's being sold to the general population. Fast food restaurants, no good oils are being used there. There is the source of our food matters, and people don't dig down individually that far to realize that matters. And unfortunately, it's making for a sicker population. We're sicker than ever, as you mentioned. And something that could probably balance this is cleaning up the bad bacteria in our guts, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I just wanted to give a few stats. We are more microbial content than we are our human body cells. In other words, just in our GI tract, we have 100 trillion microbes. Mm-hmm. And according to many scientific studies, all diseases have their origin in the gut. Mm-hmm. And information that I talked about 40 years ago is now accepted science. I said there is no blood-brain barrier when it comes to bacteria. We know that there is bacterial problems in the brain that can actually affect the health of our neurons. All these new explosions of mental disease, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, are part of these microbes getting into our brain, getting into our cellular structure. So since the body produces 10 million new cells every minute, the microbiome and the microbiota are the most important ecosystem for any one person on this planet to keep in a optimal balance.
I
And
agree. I agree.
there's,
But what I
yeah,
want to do is go back a little bit before we get too far
mhm.
to give some definitions, because for the audience, we have to assume they need the full education on what microbiome is, what our microbiome is, and understanding gut health and the environment of our gut, and what a probiotic is. And then we can get into, because I agree with you with everything. I mean, absolutely. But let's first talk about the microbiome. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay. Since I was part of the microbiome foundation in 2013, microbiome is actually a misused word today. It actually means the sum total of all the genetic material of the 100 trillion microbes that line your GI tract, which is usually 27 feet long. And that material is about 238 genes, 238,000 genes versus our 22,000 genes. So they're just beginning to discover this. And so people misuse the word microbiome when they actually mean microbiota, which is the 100 trillion microbes that line your GI tract. And by the way, you have another microbiome in your mouth. You have another microbiome in your reproductive organs. You have another microbiome on your skin. You have a microbiome everywhere in your body. And the confusion and not understanding any standard of probiotics is what's not contributing to the miraculous health-giving properties of these bacteria. And unfortunately, why we have to take them every day now, because of the 1,000 chemicals that are in our food, in our soil, in our air, and in our water.
Yes. And that's what I was saying earlier, that all this processed stuff that's going on is really, it's tainting us left and right. So let's talk probiotics. The definition of probiotics, why it's important, and we're going to get into the whole industry of the probiotic industry, because there's so many people have gotten on the bandwagon, but they don't have the expertise and the knowledge and the science that you have, and the understanding of how it can actually help us in not and be helpful to our gut health, which again is helpful to everything we do in life. And the other people that have gotten on this bandwagon are not being helpful to us. They're just making money. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what is probiotic? What do we mean when we say probiotic?
Well, the word probiotic actually means for life, whereas the word antibiotic means against life. So it's the use of beneficial bacteria in the proper amount to confer a health benefit on the host, whether it's a human host or an animal host. And that's a pretty broad term, because microbiology is not a well understood science, even by medical people. They only understand microbiology when they give antibiotics. So the complexity of the microbiota and the amount of microbiomes we have in our body is really a new science to them, which is not well understood. And because it takes rocket science to produce these bacteria, all these people who are selling these products, I would say 99% of them do not research, formulate, and make their own probiotics. They go to a contract manufacturer that has these cell concentrates, and they throw bacteria together, not understanding that the normal state of bacteria is mutual antagonism. And unless you understand which bacteria are absolutely safe, will never harm you at any level, and are effective, takes a lot of knowledge, and not only knowledge understanding the research, but actual hands-on knowledge understanding how to ferment these bacteria, how to stabilize them, how to distribute them, how to protect them, not only from warehousing and shipping, but from stomach acid and bile, in order for them to work. And this is what I call essential education, because of the level of chronic disease and the misunderstanding and the lack of sanitary habits, even in the health food industry. Let me just give you one quick example. It's the juicing. I tell people stay away from juice bars, and they're like horrified. But why? I love my juice. And I say it's not because of the greens. It's because those machines need to be sanitized every 45 minutes, at the most 1 hour, if you don't want to have every bacteria that's in the air sitting inside of your juice. And these are just concepts that people don't understand, from the chemicals that are in our food, what's found in our urine, why we're having so many chronic illnesses. It's because of these concepts, eating the wrong foods, and even when you eat healthy foods, not understanding how to prepare them and keep them sanitary.
So I have a question, because you're talking about food. Food itself cannot keep our gut bacteria healthy, even if we understood how to eat the right food and from the right source and prepare them correctly. Without a probiotic, everybody, no matter what, should be taking a probiotic. Your probiotic, because yours is scientifically perfect.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I always tell people, don't look at me. I didn't cause the problem. The problem has been caused by society.
Yeah.
In all the healthy cultures that I studied for generations, people were healthy, long-lived, enjoyed beautiful mental health, beautiful skin, ability to function. I'm not embarrassed to say I'm 76 years old, and I still work full-time. And, your skin is a mirror of what's going on inside your body. So if your skin doesn't look like it should, it means that things are not perfect inside of your body. And because we have so many young people that have now chronic disease, I said, don't blame me. I'm just a messenger. The problem is that we need to get the right supplementation. We have to look at each individual diet. And people are allergic to some of the most fundamental foods that are found in every healthy culture around the world, that I'm beginning to worry that we're not going to be able to consume anything, because we'll become allergic to every food. And the reason we become allergic is because the lack of the proper probiotic bacteria in our gut that allows our immune system to overreact to anything that comes into contact with the intestinal wall. And this is something that occurred over time, and it's really causing massive problems. And plus the stress level. People don't understand. That was really my topic. Why this daily stress? It's, first of all, your perception of reality. That is the most important function that your body relates to. If you are constantly depressed, not grateful, unhappy, it actually allows your body to produce chemicals that destroy your body. And, we can get very technical, but basically your mind can start producing chemicals to destroy their body. And since the body needs to replace itself every year, 50 trillion cells, the body is continually producing new proteins. And if those proteins are cheap proteins, you're going to get disease. It's not my theory. It's an accepted knowledge base.
Yeah,
So
it's fact.
you have to really, educate yourself.
Yeah, and so many people aren't, because we are, here in the United States at least, we're a fast-paced, fast food nation. So we're not paying attention. I know you have a whole thing too about the way you eat matters, taking your time, chewing your food properly, taking food, the whole Ayurvedic kind of concept, and how you eat, when you eat, and what you eat together. There's that whole concept. There is certain groups that pay attention, but overall, the majority of the population does not, and that's why we're a diseased country and world, for that matter. And so along comes a probiotic who needs to clean us up, and people need to get educated about that, because there again are so many choices out there. And it's amazing how much information you have about the education of probiotics. I mean, I know this, I think I got this off your website, but health concerns that a probiotic can address. So if you have any of these things, think about really what a probiotic can do for you. It's digestive support, it's immune support, and as everybody knows, our immune system is in our gut. It's regularity. It takes care of irritated bowels, gut wellness, gas and bloating, healthy mood, what you were just talking about, mental health, stress and anxiety, expectant mothers, vaginal health, which is a whole other category in itself, athletic performance, and indigestion. I mean, all these things can be fixed or taken care of by taking the proper probiotic. Because so many times people think that they have an upset stomach, but you were just saying that, but that a lot of that could be anxiety and stress, which is causing all of the irritability in your gut, which in turn makes you not only you're stressed and have anxiety, but you also have pain. You also feel bad. And then you have all these gut issues like constipation and, there are so many things that can go along with it. So what should people do? If any of these things I mentioned, and I bet you there is a whole slew of our audience out there that can relate to at least one of those things that I mentioned as a health concern.
And the most important thing is that most people, including women and men, want beautiful skin. They pay thousands of dollars to get beautiful skin. And I tell them only 20% of the beauty of your skin is handled from the outside. 80% comes from the inside out. So if you don't care about anything else and you only care about your appearance, the proper precision probiotic supplementation is what you need to get your skin in balance and make everything right inside your body. So since I've spent, a half a century, studying this and using only safe organisms, because let me assure you that organisms have to be chosen based on their evolution with Homo sapiens, whether or not they're safe under all conditions, and whether or not they can actually do what you promise they will do. So what I've done is I've introduced the Lactobacillus acidophilus, which has been in the industry for 70 years. I found a specific strain. I grow it specifically because bacteria don't perform because you want them to perform. You have to stimulate them to perform and produce all these wonderful fermentation end products that help all of your body functions, to make sure that the proper food is absorbed, that your immune cells are not disturbed, that your immunity is improved, not hampered, and that your thinking is clear, that the right chemicals are produced in the small intestine that are then absorbed through the vagus nerve to your first brain, like serotonin and dopamine, and that you get your right cellular structure to be reproduced on an everyday. And some people put the name of organisms on the bottle. They may not be in there at all. Or if they're in such small numbers, they have no impact because they can't survive their marketing plan of how the product is bottled, shipped, stored, won't survive stomach acid, will not survive bile. So therefore, you get very little function from that organism. Then I was the first one to introduce bifidobacteria for the large intestine or the colon. That's your waste and disposal system. And that's so important for your overall function and your immunity. And we know that a lot of people who are vaccine injured and who have long haul COVID have virtually destroyed the bifidobacteria in the large intestine. And that's a very important area for supplementation. This is not my theory or my belief system. It's just what the published material says out there for those of us who can find it. And so it's very important for that large intestinal health to be in order if you want to have optimal immunity.
Well,
and then I added a third bacteria, which is one of the hero bacteria found in yogurt, concentrated it. Why? Because it was one of the first bacteria studied in the long-lived Bulgarians and found to be a perfect bacteria to reduce toxins and stimulate the immune system properly so that you are healthy and that you are able to resist disease because you establish that communication with the proper bacteria and your immune system. I didn't just throw any bacteria in. I chose the bacteria very carefully. They're in the literature for at least 100 years. They've never been proven to cause any harm, and bacteria can turn against you, especially if you choose soil bacteria. And so these are the 3 bacteria that I've incorporated into a system. You can have my super pill, which I call the Healthy Trinity, which gives you these 3 bacteria in a special delivery system that survives stomach acid and survives bile and has helped literally millions of people. And why do I keep working? I could have gotten out years ago, because we need to establish standards that people actually follow. I've established standards that were read into congressional record. Unfortunately, nobody follows them. And that's why I want to, show my products, because I'm not trying to corner the market or be the only one in the market. I'm trying to help people have the knowledge so that we encourage other people to do the same thing. That's my desire.
Well, that's really good. That's smart to not say, come to me, but everybody should follow this protocol and this standard that works. I want to get into that, what other people are doing versus what they should be doing and what you're doing. And we're going to take a really quick break here, and we're going to come back and talk about that. And then I have a few questions for you about juveniles, because I know you have a formulation for that and some other things. So we'll get into that right after a word from one of my sponsors. Cicera Olio de Oliva is an extra virgin olive oil company with a mission to provide high-quality, current-season Italian oils to families. They have partnered with 2 centuries-old family farms in the Tuscany region of Italy to grow, harvest, and bottle their amazing oils. Founded by a nutritionist who has a love of the land, sustainability, nutritious foods, and of course, Italy, they strive for a peak freshness and high nutritional content in every single bottle. All of their oils are current season, extra virgin olive oil, bringing you a true branch to bottle experience, and I know firsthand. So, for an offer, go to www.cesarioliva.com and enter Balanced Life 10 for 10% off. I know you're going to love this healthy and delicious addition to just about any meal. Welcome back. My guest today, and I'm going to have you say your last name, Natasha, is Natasha
Trenev.
Yes. And she is an expert on probiotics, and we're talking about that. I know a lot of my clients are very confused about gut health and probiotics, and you make sense of it, which is what you're doing with us here today. And if you want to become part of this conversation, if you're listening live, give us a call. The number here is 323-524-2599. If you're not listening live and you have a question, you want to make a comment, go to the comment section of any platform that you're listening or watching on, and one of us will get back to you post-show. So there you have it. We were just talking about your product versus so many other people that have gotten on the bandwagon out there, and how they're not paying attention to the proper bacteria and strains that they should be supplying probiotics with. How does somebody know what's right for them and their body? And is it a daily thing they should be doing? Does it have to be, I know we're going to talk about this, does it have to be refrigerated? There are many brands out there that aren't refrigerated. And if so, why?
Okay. Well, let's try to make a very complex issue simple. Number one, no one should be consuming a soil-based spore-forming organism as a daily probiotic, because number one, soil bacteria are designed to live and thrive in the soil. They're much too strong to be in great numbers in our GI tract. That's why your mother told you to wash your vegetables and your fruit before you ate it. When you take off the dirt, you take off the soil organisms. And that's been in every healthy culture that I've studied around the world. This is one of the big problems we have in this country, just because some countries use some of these stronger bacteria for fermenting foods that they consume. and their bodies are used to it, it doesn't mean that you should be consuming these bacteria that can turn against you, can cause disease if your immunity is down. And it's a very unwise thing to do on a daily basis. Then number two, as part of the labeling standard that I wrote and was read into congressional record, when you use this bacteria on your label and you name all these bacteria, sometimes 6, 8, 10, 12 strains, these bacteria are not compatible. Nobody that bottles these products knows even why they're in there. They may read some literature that tells you obliquely what these bacteria are supposed to do, but consequently, what they don't do, what the labeling standard requires, is to give you a potency of each bacteria that's listed on the label through the expiry date. Most people just list a total CFU, meaning the total number of cells in all the bacteria names that they list on the label. And that's wrong, because how do you know what you're even getting, or if you're getting the good stuff? Most people name a lot of bacteria on the label, get very inexpensive bacteria to what they call load the product with so that the counts come on good, because once you mix all those bacteria together, you cannot tell how much you have of each bacterium. And that's done on purpose because everybody's doing it. So nobody's taking any action against anybody who's doing that, because that's the way you can have 1,000 private labels. And it's a sad thing because a lot of those bacteria are not compatible. They compete with each other inside the capsule. Many of them get stressed out and die. And so consequently, you're lucky if you get 1 or 2 bacteria maximum of any strength once you consume the product. And most importantly, probiotics should be never taken to control symptoms. Mm-hmm. As part of the health food industry for 56 years, what we have taught is that optimizing your balance in your GI tract is what it's about. If you optimize the balance and put the right bacteria in, you give the body the tools to run your digestion, your gas, your regularity, everything inside optimally. Give your body the tools to heal itself and let it operate the way that it can, instead of trying to pop a pill to treat a symptom. That is the worst thing that's ever happened in our industry, where we're popping pills to treat symptoms. The health food industry and the alternative healthcare industry was never designed to give you pills to treat symptoms. We were here to teach you how to change your microbiome, how to change your microbiota composition, how to give your body the tools that every day works for you to give you the health of skin, the internal organs, your digestion, because without digestion, you can't fuel your body. That's why you feel tired. When you're stressed out, you're abusing your immune system. All of the energy goes to fighting the stress, and therefore you're robbed of energy. And then, like I said, popping pills for those symptoms is not going to get you into a healthy state. So that's why I still stayed.
Yeah, good, because we need you to get those regulations out there. So let's go to, what should somebody who is listening to this right now and wants to start a probiotic regimen, how, if it's not a one-size-fits-all, how do they know what they need, when they need it, and what of your products, let's say, do they start with? Do they continue? How do you know?
Okay, well, first of all, you can take a whole bottle of our products and will never harm you. That's very important to know, that they're safe at any level. Second of all, we have something that we call the Healthy Start System, where each bacteria is grown and stored separately so that you can determine on your own how much you need to take of the bacteria. So let me give you a suggestion. Usually we tell people start with a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of each bacteria that's found in the Healthy Start System. And if you can't remember the names, just remember it's 1, 2, and 3. 1 for the small intestine, 1 for the large intestine, and 1 for the transient flora. Most people don't know that 40% of your dry weight fecal matter is bacteria. So you are producing and allowing a lot of bacteria to pass through your body on a daily basis. So we can start with a Healthy Start System if you're sensitive, if you've had issues with irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, colitis, severe indigestion, we start gently. If you want the powerhouse to really give you fast results, especially for your skin issues, we recommend the Healthy Trinity. If you're an athlete, the Healthy Trinity is great because it's my powerhouse. We keep the 3 bacteria separate and not touching each other in the capsule because we micro-enrobe them in an oil. The oil is there to protect them from harming each other while they're pressed together in the capsule. And then that oil also is 100% protection through the stomach acid. Most people don't know that stomach acid was designed not only to digest proteins, but to kill bacteria. So it's designed to kill bacteria. So you have 100% survival of these 3 essential core beneficial bacteria that we call probiotics that will survive stomach acid for over an hour at a pH of 1.8, which is very low, and get into your small intestine. And because the organisms are bioresistant, that means they arrive healthy, alive, and that they're ready to work for you. That's why for 40 years, millions of people have said, my God, I take product XYZ, I never felt such results. And that's because these bacteria are designed not only to be safe at any level, to be part of our evolutionary plan, and to make sure that they arrive unstressed, healthy, and in the numbers that we promise into your GI tract.
So, so if people call, you can talk to somebody individually where you're at right now. Maybe you're taking a different brand, or maybe, right, you know, you're used to probiotic. I have a question. What's the difference between a pre and a probiotic? And what?
Oh,
yeah.
Great question. I just want to tell you that I'm happy that I have people with me for more than 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And they've really become lifestyle coaches. They really understand. They've talked to thousands of people in the last 20 years.
I bet.
So I'm happy to provide that service. There's no push, you know, buy this, we got this special. We give the specials because what the customer expects, not because we need to. So that's very important.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to that notion of prebiotics.
Mm-hmm.
Before the term prebiotics, there was a term called fructooligosaccharides. And what that means is a sugar or a carbohydrate that your body cannot digest and break down for itself. So it becomes direct food for the 100 trillion microbes in your gut. And because there was a lot of problems with the fructooligosaccharides, not only feeding the good bacteria, but sometimes the bad bacteria, the industry and the marketing geniuses said, well, we'll change names. We'll just call it a prebiotic. And, you know, I say no matter how good and how studied the prebiotic is, because we have such a compromised population, no one can guarantee that an indigestible sugar, which is what a probiotic, what a prebiotic is, sorry about that, an indigestible sugar or carbohydrate will only feed the good bacteria. Any food that's not digested by the human host becomes direct food for the bacteria, and there will be competition for that. So I think in this day and age, when we have so many millions of people who are compromised, it's not a good idea to take a prebiotic, because they're selling you something that could, under conditions, feed something that might turn against you.
It's so good to talk to somebody who's so knowledgeable about that, because we just hear the sort of the rhetoric and a lot of the noise about the word prebiotic, and then it becomes a touch word or touch phrase that you need it, but you don't know why you need it, and you don't yet, you know. And so I was always confused by that. So I'm so glad that you shed a light on it to make it more. Does let me ask you, because I have a grandchild, and you know, she actually deals with some constipation issues. So I'm working with, you know, from my field, I'm working with her mom in terms of foods and what she's putting in her body. It's hard because with a toddler, it's hard to have that control. At what age and should kids be on probiotics?
Well, first of all, I was the only one person that introduced first the most incredible bifidobacteria called Infantis. And that was in the 1980s. Nobody knew what I was talking about. And actually, there's thousands of research articles that were published about this bacteria established, one, that it's the most important bacteria from the mother to the infant. Unfortunately, this is even old data. Only 7% of the mothers in North America are able to pass on this incredible Bifidobacteria infantis found in my Life Start products to their newborn infant. And even if they're vaginally delivered and breastfed. And I can assure you that breastfed, by all the research that we've done, contains certain stimulants specifically designed to stimulate this bacteria, which we call human milk oligosaccharides. And it's incredible and ingenious how we were made that this bacteria is so important to the newborn infant. And why? Because it establishes a unique communication between the immune cells on the intestinal lining and this bacteria. And this bacteria will direct the immune system to calm down when there's food passing the intestinal wall, so it doesn't create allergies and food sensitivities and other possible learning disabilities. And it will also tell the immune system when it needs to gear up when it has this danger. And so, unfortunately, I personally believe that many of these problems we see with young children is the inability of the mothers to pass on this essential bacteria to the child. Hence, we have a lot of learning problems, regular, what I call body problems, skin problems with children. So what I tell people, if you are pregnant, you need to take our Life Start product. If you're a nursing mother, you need to give it not only to your newborn infant, but take it yourself, because it will come through the milk. Also, any child who hasn't had it needs to take it. And now, lately, new science has shown us that any sensitive person needs to take this bacteria to reestablish that, how shall I say, relationship that wasn't properly established when they were born. So the good news is this bacteria is never harmful. I make it with 3 different delivery systems, not what we need, but what I feel the bacteria needs to be effective. So you could choose between our regular cow milk base, our incredible goat milk base, and I chose goat milk because the composition most resembles mother's milk. And we have a new organic rice base. So you have 3 choices, but this bacteria should be given to every child, especially born in North America, because I'm pretty certain that very few numbers of children ever get this bacteria from their mother, even if they're vaginally born and breastfed. And the children who are C-sectioned especially need this incredible bacteria.
I would agree, because they miss out on that transfer through the birth canal and the vaginal wall. I have a quick question because we're winding down, but I also have one about traveling. I had always heard, probiotics, you got it, the foreign bacteria in food when you travel is why my husband used to get so sick when he traveled around the world from foreign bacteria. And he always pretty much got sick on the way home, like towards the end of the trip. So do you take more, like higher volume when you travel? What should you do when you travel, or this won't happen if you're doing the right thing all along? Can you shed some light? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you need to take it when you travel because your immune system is not used to the bacteria, even if they're good bacteria in other countries. E. coli is one great example. Many people cannot tolerate E. coli in different environments because they're slightly different, and your immune system in your body may not be used to it. So I tell people it's the best travel insurance you can get. Our products do travel, even though I insist on refrigeration. They can travel safely for 2 weeks. All you have to do is take care of them like a pet. You don't leave them in the sun. You don't put them in direct heat. And you make sure that they're kept cool. And the reason you keep probiotic bacteria cool is for one major reason, is because you refrigerate food. You refrigerate food to stop the growth of bacteria. You do not want your probiotics to be growing inside the capsule, inside the bottle, to stress themselves out, to die, and then be not so happy to work for you when you ingest them. So this
Makes
whole
sense.
business of shelf stable is a very sad, misinformation that's being passed out, because when they say shelf stable, they're talking about a temperature at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, which frankly does not exist in storage or transportation. It may be on the shelf in the health food store, but it doesn't exist in real life. And second of all, most people in North America don't understand the perishability of anything. So when they see something that's shelf stable, they're going to throw it in a hot trunk, put it in the sunlight on their windowsill. It's just a lack of social education that doesn't come from the home or the mother. And so the quality of the product is completely destroyed.
Yeah, which is never any good. And you're spending good money. You want to keep the quality high. So that makes sense. Mm-hmm. We are out of time. I want you to give your website because you have a very comprehensive website so people can go to it and actually access the product. So for those that are listening, we have the website is up on the screen. But for those that are listening, can you give it for us?
Sure. It's Natren, spells NATREN.com. And today we have that special for Debbie. If you put Debbie DBI 25, you'll get a 25% discount. Or if you want, you can call, it's on the website. You can call one of our wonderful probiotic specialists, Susan, Caroline, or Faye, and they'll be happy to help you. They're not high-pressured salespeople. They're just there to help you make the best decision for what your needs are in your life. So feel free to go to Natren. I'm sure that 80% of our customers stay on the product. We've had customers for 3 decades, 4 decades who swear by the product. And if you read our reviews, I'm so happy to say that we have transformed many lives.
And that's what it's all about. That's amazing, amazing. So you've heard her. Let's go to that website and see how you can literally change your health longevity by starting right now and getting your gut in order. I want you to leave us, which I have all of my guests do, with final words, just a final word, phrase, sentence that you want the audience to hear.
I would say love yourself and love your body.
Good. And you have all the tools to help them do that. I want to thank you for your expertise and helping my audience today to give some clarity and some information about gut health and probiotics. Thank you for all of your knowledge and all of your research and the years that you've put into this for all of us to benefit from. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for you, the audience today, I want to thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you. Go ahead and make a comment, ask a question, go to my YouTube channel, go to my Facebook page. We want to hear from you no matter when you're listening to this. Just give a shout out and say, I got some information. I'm so glad that I did. Just let us know that you're there. And also, in the meantime, I want you to keep going out and finding those conversations that connect to a healthier you. All right, everybody, going to see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining. Bye.